Hello and welcome to the Yalla Bitcoin Breakfast Show. We are very excited to talk about something that is completely not relevant to the trend of memes. Even though I have Deck Screener open 94 minutes out of 100, 25 4/7. I'm on that Deck Screener. It's pretty intense what's going on right now. That being said, like my Solana meme game isn't as strong as my Runes meme game. Runes has been absolutely blowing up, double digit gains almost every day. And shout out to Bro Bear Runes, the number one new Runes project out there, the hardest memeing cabal group in the game. So thank you for all you bring to the world. But this is today we have something different. We have uh, talk about real world asset tokenization. For all of you guys who are still out there, who are still interested in real world use cases for blockchain and not just speculation, AI agents speculating about who's going to pump first. So they say, hey, Mati, what's up?
What's going on, man?
All good, bro. It's our first show in the Trump era. I
Is
missed you
it?
last week. Yeah, yeah. Hey, Bob, GM, let's make sure everyone's on. How are you doing, Bob?
Can't hear Bob.
Mati, are you streaming to your thing as well? That's so cool.
Am
You're
I?
streaming
I'm
across.
not sure.
Yeah.
Does it? I
Yeah,
don't
it
see it.
says here on the StreamYard button, you've so far got 8 people from your stream and 7 from my stream. So you're
People
winning.
or bots? Do we know if they're live human beings or
I mean, we
uh?
have one live human
script?
being here. He's from this guy's from LinkedIn, so he has to be a live human being.
Oh, it could be a paid shill. We don't know.
By Bob. So we're waiting for while we're waiting for Bob Mati. How's the last couple days been for you?
Min, I am enjoying this market thoroughly. I'm going to take a few victory laps here. I called the election results. I said landslide for Trump. I said that the markets were in limbo waiting for the Trump victory and then they were going to take off. They did. So that's all verifiable. I said
Yeah,
that
that's
the next phase of the cycle, so 2013 was early adopters, 2017 was retail, 2021 was institutional. And I said that the next phase would be nation state FOMO. That is clearly materializing before our eyes. One thing that I did not imagine ever happening was that United States was going to be leading the nation state FOMO. So that is better than expected and much sooner than expected. Yeah, so these election results, sweeping victory, complete control of Congress, complete control of the judicial branch of government. So essentially, Donald Trump controls all three branches of government for the next 2 years. It's going to give him massive legislation potential. Elon Musk is going to go in and audit the entire government and cut the fat, so to speak. Donald Trump is clearly set on draining the swamp, getting rid of corruption, getting rid of excess government spending, deregulating the American economy in a way that is going to be simply beautiful for business and innovation. And I believe that given today's technology, where we're at, and leadership, I mean, every election result over the next 5 years is going to be affected by this. We see the huge success of Nayib Bukele and Javier Milei, now Donald Trump. Those three are going to show other would-be shakers, movers and shakers in the political landscape how it's done and how to attain the popular vote based on free market principles. And I believe that we're entering a golden era, such as has never been seen before in the history of the world, and could indeed last for centuries.
Yeah, for sure. What about our bags though? Like you gave us a nice thing, our bags. You gave us a nice, very intellectual, but I'm worried about my bags. I,
Okay,
I'll
so
tell
here's
you
your
what,
bag.
like
Here, dude, it's very simple. Everybody out there is like, feed me, feed me, feed me, because they've been starved for the last 3 years. Listen, relax, okay? Just sit down, relax. Your bags are gonna pump, okay? Just sit down and take it easy, and understand that this bear market, this bull market, is not here for the next 2 weeks and going away. It's here to last and it's here to stay. And there will be plenty of opportunities for prosperity for all people. So stop, cut it out with the
yeah,
leverage. You're gonna lose money that way. Build something
yeah.
that's worthwhile. Build something that matters. Invest your money.
So let's start off. Let's start off with that question. That will be like an intro question for Bob and Julian GM guys, because you guys are all. And this is the one question I want to ask all three of you, because you're all building something that's worthwhile. And let's go around, Bob, and then Julian, and introduce yourself, what you do in the space, and then the question I want to kind of start off with is that like, because for me, I'm looking on the sidelines, like I'm doing some consulting, I'm in vet, and I look on the sideline and I'm like, what's the best use of my time right now? And that is to find, for me, honestly, and I think a lot of people feel the same, is to try and find the next 100x meme coin. Like, why bother with long term sheets and roadmaps and politics and raising capital and this, when people are just making in like life changing money overnight on speculation on these. The new meta right now is AI agents, so like these AIs that you can create your own AI, give it a ticker, give it a Twitter account, that thing starts to tweet autonomously, and these things are getting to like 10, 50, $100 million market cap. So that's my question to you guys. Like, what is the, before we get into tokenization specifically, like what does the next couple of years look like for real builders and people adding value, in a world that's already dominated, where the mind share is still on the speculation. In the Bitcoin, there is a lot of mind share on Bitcoin, but elsewhere it's very much on the speculation side. Even decentralized science, which has become like it's kind of trending up in the last week. It's trending in the context of memes. So like DeSci memes. So everything has the speculative aspect. So let's start. Good morning, GM, Bob, Julian.
Just before that, I want
Mati
to give
wants to
a
go.
disclaimer. I apologize, Bob. I want you both to know, Bob and Julian, we have had guests on our show that have threatened to sue us in the past due to our line of questioning. So I hope you understand that your presence here signifies that you allow us to air this, and anything that you say is not going to be taken down afterward. It's being recorded live stream and is up permanently on the internet.
Classic Mati disclaimer. Let's go.
Hey guys, first of all, can you guys hear me loud and clear?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Go ahead.
Okay, apologies, because I had to restart my machine here. I had a critical audio something failure.
It's working now. Sounds good.
Okay, and are we live?
Yes, we're streaming to multiple channels. We're on Elon.
Fantastic.
We're on Elon. Yeah,
Fantastic.
we're on
Good, good.
Elon's. Yeah.
Elon Musk
We're
is
on-
watching. So yeah. Now's your
Okay,
chance.
good stuff. Hi, Julian. How are you? Good to see you again.
Hey guys, good to see everyone. Thanks for having us on. Bob, how are you?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, David, thanks, and Matt, thanks for having us on. What an interesting, crypto just is the gift that keeps on giving, right? It's, there's no lack of story and turning points and highlights and lowlights. And 2024 has been very, very amazing, and it's far from over, right? A lot can happen in a day, in a week, and in the 6 weeks we have left this year, I think we all know we've had some pretty wild Decembers in the past, and so who's to say that Bitcoin isn't going to hit, I don't know, 120, 130 by 6 weeks from now, right? Anything's possible. Yeah. So I mean, let me do my own disclaimer. This is a very fast moving and fast evolving space. Nothing that I'm saying here should be taken as gospel. I think no one knows where this thing is going, and my position at INX and within crypto and blockchain is very much from the point of view of a regulated market player, a licensed, compliant entity that is taking traditional financial markets and moving those products and services and solutions on chain, and doing this in a way that always protects investors, and so on. So nothing that I'm saying here should be construed as investment advice or some kind of prediction of how this exciting market is going to evolve. We're simply sharing ideas here, and I think speaking from experiences and how we see things going. So yeah, real quick intro about myself. I've been in financial markets for going on almost 20 years now. I started my career back in London, where I worked for large interdealer brokers, ECNs, foreign exchange trading platforms, institutional platforms, serving tier 1 banks, central banks. I worked at a platform where we were doing about 270 plus billion in daily volumes. The global forex prices were being set, literally by our platform, and so I've for quite a while understood how institutions use technology in creating products or trading and settling, and how technology advancements can really transform industries or verticals within industries. And that was kind of what I experienced through that 2005 up until 2010, was the rise of the algorithmic trading, bots, if you want to call it that, quantitative trading, programmatic trading, all language for basically, high speed, high powerful computers, running programs that were, trading against humans in the marketplace. Also the arrival of the FIX protocol, a trading API, which meant machines could communicate with machines using these languages, these programmatic languages. And so I literally joined the financial markets space around when this technological advancement of algorithmic trading and fixed and APIs were becoming mainstream. Low latency trading, low latency, high frequency trading. So it was quite an amazing experience to see how things that I had just started becoming accustomed to in 2005 were already changed significantly by 2010. Now, fast forward, another 10, 14 years to 2024, and there's another big advancement that's happening. So in those years, I worked at different financial services companies. I worked on order management systems, execution management systems, scale-ups, startups, and I think, I don't want to say nothing prepared me for the next level of technological advancement that blockchain has brought about. But this one is big. This is different, right? So these last few years, we've seen blockchain and crypto take on all different kinds of meanings. Unfortunately, sometimes very dark meanings. But we're now crystallizing these use cases that are really meaningful, that are going to aid the regulatory compliant way of doing financial services. And so we're going to see the technology coming closer to the regulatory compliance and the products that already exist in the marketplace getting even more, getting more efficient, or entire new products coming about. So yeah, a little bit about my background and kind of how I've experienced these trends and changes over the last 10, 15 years. And yeah, can't wait to see where this goes next.
Thanks, Bob. GM
That's
to you, Julian.
super optimistic view. I love it.
Sure. Hey everyone. My name's Julian. I'm co-founder of CO2 platforms in the RWA space. InvestaX was the first builders in Asia, focusing on the RWA back in 2018. We have a broker-dealer and exchange license now. Any global real asset token, you can pick 7 protocols. Recent integration with Base and BNB XTC. And then we built a sister platform, IXSwap, which was built as the Uniswap for real asset tokens. So, sorry, one sec. The problem in 2020, 2021, there's no liquidity for any real asset tokens. So we decided to see if we could build the same system that Uniswap, Uniswap's the most well-known, the same system out of DeFi, where the DEXs were a crowdsourced market making, and anyone with the 2 tokens could start a liquidity pool. So that's IXSwap. It's got its own licenses, so it can actually handle real asset equity tokens, which Uniswap can't do. Yeah, we've been in the space for a very long time. It's great to see the market kind of coming together. I think the most important events that were sort of catalysts for why RWA has really come to light. I think it's like 2 years ago in the DeFi kind of meltdown. There was no yield, so people and treasuries and money market funds were paying 5-6%, and people started thinking, well, if we tokenize these real world assets, these financial instruments on chain, then we can present them to the hundreds of millions of dollars of crypto investors that are making no yields. So that was sort of the first time the crypto universe in many years, since 2017, 18, actually understood the concept of security tokens and then rebranded it real world asset tokens. And then we've had both sides of Wall Street and Larry Fink, shilling real world asset tokens, but also importantly saying it's got to be on public chains. And then we also had, we've also had the crypto guys now. I mean, probably the biggest news in the real world asset space in my mind in the last week has been crypto.com, one of the biggest crypto exchanges, buying broker-dealer licenses in America, Australia, and now Mauritius. So you'll see Coinbase is building a real world asset exchange in Abu Dhabi. All the big guys in crypto space are trying to work out how to add these real world asset tokens to their platform to make more money, sell them more things, and they need licenses to do that. And we're partnering up as the key RWA partner for a bunch of leading crypto exchanges. So yeah, happy to be here, talk all things real world assets, and obviously also hoping we're at the beginning of an epic, never been had before bull run. So let's see.
I want to kind of get straight to it with
you're like, what's going on? Not enough bots in the house.
Where you wanted bots when there's bots, you complain about the bots. So I want
to know where they are. I was wondering because they usually inflate our numbers. So
I think they're sleeping. I think they haven't been woken up by the bot Avengers yet to play. But we have real people here. We have Julian was waiting to get in, so he wrote, "I'm waiting to get in." You see, we have more guests than GM. He has a bot. Anyway, I want to ask you guys.
Good morning.
I want to ask you guys about this obviously the big news with the Trump election and how it plays out in your areas of expertise. Like, Bob, you mentioned regulatory compliance, and under Gensler, like crypto blockchain, it wasn't a regulatory thing; it was a political issue, as in. There was a political agenda to stifle innovation and growth in the US specifically, and that's why most companies in the space just completely ignore the US. They're just not worth the headache. Now with Trump coming in, Gensler coming out, obviously a very pro-crypto, pro-Bitcoin administration around him, Elon and Vivek and RFK, they're all holding JD, they're all holding coin. So how does that impact like the way you guys do business? Does it make it, on the one hand, it could allow more competition to come into the field because it could make it a lot easier to get licensing and to get all the compliance checks in place. On the other hand, obviously it's a welcome, it's a welcome boost for the ecosystem. So how are you guys strategically viewing the Trump era when it comes to tokenizing real world assets?
You're on mute, Bob.
My bad. Good question. I think the market was really poised. I've got Bloomberg running all the time here, and it was always like the Trump trade. What's the Trump trade? Are we seeing the Trump trade? This was in the run up to the election, and this whole like Trump trade talk was about all your traditional financial, investment houses and what they were going to be doing. And the crypto trade, the Trump crypto trade, it feels like it was like a catapult. It was this potential just waiting to be unleashed. And what an amazing, couple of weeks we've had since then, right? Look at the ETF inflows. What was it? Bitcoin has flipped silver as like the 8th largest asset class, and it's like 2/3 of the way to flipping gold. These are ETFs that launched not up to a year ago. So there is so much, I think, a conviction in the validity of blockchain-based assets and that there's a future there, but there's also a hedge for those who are not even necessarily believers, right? So even if you sat on the sidelines, at this time, I don't think anyone is even dreaming of sitting on the sidelines anymore, right? I wonder when the real OGs, the Warren Buffetts and those who say, Bitcoin is going to zero, right? And they said this repeatedly. And we've seen a lot of U-turns from big names who have said things like that. And suddenly you find out that they're actually acquiring Bitcoin. I wonder what those true OGs of, the big anti-Bitcoiners are saying now, because whether you believe it or not, I think you just have to be hedging. And when I hear about the US wanting to set up a Bitcoin strategic reserve, I wonder if the meaning of strategic is simply a hedge, right? Because who knows where this thing is going, and we can't have others dominate a space and we sat on the sidelines. So yeah, Goldman Sachs talking about 700 plus in Bitcoin reserves. As I said, US federal and state talk about strategic Bitcoin reserves. I feel bad for Germany and you can call Germany the Bitcoin paper hand, right? They sold all that Bitcoin a couple of months ago. Yeah, and I think the current market cap at $3+ billion is now higher than the previous high we had in 2021. I think it was in November. So without a doubt, whether there is a definable future or not, the market is on board, right? And the US specifically now is going to, I think, feel unshackled. And by the way, Gensler is still in. I think, we've got another month or so. And then we'll know who the new SEC chairman is. Everyone's talking about the Treasury Secretary and who Trump's pick is going to be for that. We're more interested in the SEC choice, right? So what is the new SEC going to look like? What does it mean for Trump's pro-crypto stance, right? Which it's easy to say things in your election campaigning, right? We're going to have this. We're going to be the greatest nation when it comes to crypto. But at some point, regulations have to get written. And what are those new regulations that are less restrictive? What are they going to look like? So take the concept of the special purpose broker-dealer, right? A broker-dealer license that allows broker-dealers to custody assets on behalf of their clients and so on and so forth. That could be a straightforward win. Like fast track applications, not fast track, but basically take on applications and process them, and let's start getting these broker dealer licenses out there. Like Julian just said, you're going to have crypto exchanges, basically saying, hey, I'm very AML and KYC adherent. I'm playing things by the book, and now I want to take on a broker dealer license. And can my crypto exchange trade security tokens? Can I carve out a section and now it's an ATS? And so everyone's kind of wondering what exactly these new less restrictive regulations are going to look like. We can't say for sure what they are now. It's too early, but it's all going to happen in a very short space of time. And I think generally fostering innovation, making things less restrictive, I think you'll just see less companies looking outside of the United States as they have been doing. I think your Dubais and Souk in Switzerland and some of these other places that have really taken advantage of, I don't know if you remember, Wyoming was aiming to become a crypto hub. And if you remember this, about a year and a half ago, the state of Wyoming was very much all about come and set up your DAOs, and they wanted to be a crypto hub, just like you now have Dubai and Souk in Switzerland.
The long effect, sure.
Right. And now you have, 18 US states are suing the SEC for constitutional overreach. So we can't, I guess, grasp just how damaging the previous SEC has been to the US. And by definition, I think the next SEC will simply be, orders of magnitude way more supportive of the space. And from the point of view of INX, if you understand the fact that we've been playing this regulatory compliant angle from day one, right? So we understood that you got to do these things by the book. You've got to have investor protections. You've got to do things the right way. And we were compliant. We got all the licenses, but we were licensed in this kind of restrictive environment. So we're really excited because we have those licenses. Whatever additional licenses can be acquired, I think we will more than likely want to go for those once it becomes clear, or potentially other ways that we can do business with the existing licenses. So INX is well positioned to take advantage of those changes. And also to support other players, like Julian mentioned, in a white label type solution, being able to basically facilitate the entrance of other players into the market by leveraging your own licenses. So yeah, I think we're heading into some really exciting times with, but again, we just have to wait to see what the details are.
I mean, well, licenses are not always the end all be all of safety. I mean, SBF and FTX had, a whole list of licenses and regulations that they were compliant to, and we all saw what happened over there.
Well, they had licenses that they said they were compliant to. We know they weren't, right? So ultimately,
I'm talking about government bodies that had given them a stamp of approval.
Yeah, true. But at some point, there has to be integrity, right? Anyone can take a license and pretend to their regulators and
there needs to be integrity. There needs to be transparency. Verify, don't trust. That is the blockchain ethos.
Well, I could argue. I could take your argument and say there was transparency, as per blockchain is concerned with FTX, right? So there's got to be both. There
wasn't. Otherwise, people would have known that they were into the monkey business far in advance.
I think there'll always be criminals out there that will always want to take advantage, and sometimes you have a transparent system, and that's great for doing business, but that's also great for criminals who can see, right, things in a different way. you definitely are going to continue to need transparency, but also integrity regardless, right?
So here's my point, Bob. So the best thing that the Trump administration can do is get the F out of the way. Okay, blockchain in itself is a mechanism for freedom, is a way to get rid of those scammers and those bad actors. It is a way to clearly and transparently see them for who they are, and see who's swimming naked, so to speak. Regulators don't need to come in and write new rules for this stuff. They just need to stop blocking it, and it's gonna end up taking care of itself, in my view.
Yeah, I don't agree necessarily, but
you think that more regulation is a good solution?
It's not a sweeping statement like more regulation. It's the fact that there are certain financial products. Financial products come with certain regulations. It's that simple. Now, over-regulating, I agree, like going out of your way to block things. And as David said, in this almost very blatantly politically motivated kind of way that he was alluding to, that's bad for business. But basically having clear rules. Look at Europe. Europe has just put a whole bunch of clear rules as to who can provide what kind of blockchain-based financial services, how they custody, what they custody, all of these rules, right? And Europe is excited. Europe is, so I'm trying to say,
I don't think those are good for crypto necessarily. They just actually make things a lot more confusing in some cases.
Yeah, I think the European laws have become clear and no one's happy. But I'll give you a different spin from Asia. We kind of got, so I think it's two different topics as well, like real world asset tokenization, securities, equities. We have laws. We don't need new laws. We didn't need new laws. How you handle a security, how you buy it, who can buy it. A lot of that's got nothing to do with blockchain. We were kind of sidelined. We're still here standing, but we were sort of sidelined a bit because when we called our regulator in 2017 and 18 and said we want to do security tokens, what's the laws? And they said, is it a security? And we said, yes. And they said, we'll follow your license, and hung up the phone. If you think about regulations, they don't reference paper, right? They don't say securities issued on paper. So securities issued on tokens don't need new laws. Now, of course, there could be upgrades and streamlined and all that kind of stuff, but you don't need stuff. So we went off and went full tilt into it and then realized that most of the other regulators around the world didn't think the same way. They weren't as logical, and they wanted to come up with security token laws. And 6 years later, it's finally coming together. So that was an interesting story. And at least in Asia, Hong Kong's on board, Korea, Japan, all the major markets, everyone's moving forward. Crypto is slightly different. It was this, in brackets, new asset class that confused everybody, and everyone thought America in particular, it's trying to ruin our US dollar. And now they've realized stable coins are going to increase US dollar dominance, and maybe we should get out of the way. But yeah, I think ultimately our take is America's been in the toilet for 4 years. The VC, the funding, the development, the startups. I agree with most of the people that are much more famous on social media that this is, and to Mati's comments early on, this is a complete sea change. We're going to be looking at opening up in the US. Even the day Trump said we're in, American VCs started turning up in Asia again, and they were gone for years, right? So everything about it, we obviously see price action currently reflecting a super positive outlook. But I think America goes from we're trying to kill it to we're trying to own it. That's pretty massive. That's pretty much it in my mind. So we're super bullish. We think it's great. I think everyone wants America on board. I think capital-wise, they equal or multiple times the rest of the world together. From a capital perspective, it's not just capital, but you obviously need a lot of that. We just think it's gonna vibrate across the world, and those that weren't on board will get on board. But there are places in the world that are far ahead of America, like here we sit in Singapore, that have been pro for years. So welcome America, and hopefully it's going to be a big positive boost at all levels.
Yeah, don't forget that the 2021 pump happened, right? The DeFi institutional pump happened without any sort of
That's right.
regulatory oversight or blessing. Bitcoin and crypto doesn't need government approval. That is like literally in the white paper. So read the white paper. We don't need extra regulations, or we don't need clarifications at all. We can build whatever we want to build. Thing is that, you know, the governments may and often do try and fight us, and that's what's bad for not only the space but for innovation and for mankind in general. So really, what we need from government is to let them just move out of the way and let us build what we want. What is he saying here? Greenspan.
Who's the fuck? What the fuck?
Oh, this
What
guy.
the actual fuck?
This guy's got a little chip on his
Sorry,
shoulder.
guys. It gets spicy over here. Joshua Lynch, drop a BEP20 address. Drop an address. We'll send you some. We'll send you some Mudeng. Do you accept Mudeng?
What a loser.
I don't know who this guy is, but this is it. This is what makes it fun.
I'll
My
tell you
body
the
just
story.
spoiled up.
He came to me for mentorship, and we decided on a kind of partnership. And then, you know, we agreed on the commercial terms. And then he came back after the whole thing was drafted and tried to renegotiate and said, well, if you don't pay me a lot more money than this, I'm gonna tell you, and that you tried to take advantage of me. And I'm like, look, you know what? I don't have to go through with this deal. We could just leave it as friends. I'm like, no. You have to pay me now. Like, you have to pay me a lot of money. I'm like, this is literally textbook extortion. So just go jump in a lake. So he took that phrase, go jump in a lake, to mean that he should do something bad to himself. I don't know. For me, that phrase is like regular, like, go away from me, just leave me alone. But that's the story. I didn't realize.
Jesus, you get some cooked people in the space. So I think that's a great way to kind of pivot us from. I think look, my thoughts on the whole regulation debate is, you know, everyone would ask you like, are you pro-regulation? Again, like, you know, regulation isn't a one size fits all, you know, kind of word. It depends on the jurisdiction, depends on who's regulating, depends on. So regulation that is, you know, common sense that protects investors, sure, but what the SEC has been doing for the last 4 years is not protecting investors from making life-changing gains. And essentially, because they were so strict on, you know, the regulation through enforcement and saying that all utility tokens are security, and while I agree with you guys that security, how do we block the soap? Well, I agree with you guys that security laws have been around for a while, and if you issue a stock or a real estate token, then it should follow the same laws. The problem is that the regulators, they see a nail and everything, you know, they see for them, you know, they see a nail and everything else is a hammer. So for them, they see all the utility coins as potential securities, you know, and they see, you know, and the result of that is that, you know, that's what created the meme coin sort of frenzy, because meme coins are definitely not securities, and meme coin allowed people to trade these, you know, tokens up and down without any risk of the SEC coming to shut it down. So my next question to you guys is, do you think that there will be, you know, right now memes are dominating. There's no two ways about it. Do you think there's going to be a shift back to utility with Trump and his administration creating this sort of ripple effect of regulatory appeasement, so to speak, in the market? Do you think people are going to stop gambling on frogs and start coming back to DeFi protocols and different L2s and things that add value?
And people will never stop gambling on frogs.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish they would, but they won't. Go ahead, Julian.
I think memes are great, and I mean, even to the Bitcoin maxis, you know, even the crypto maxis, it's like, guys, we wouldn't be sitting here having a conversation if Bitcoin was still 8 cents 16 years later. Right? So price movement is extremely important. Even the big crypto exchanges, we know they've been pushing the meme coins because a lot of them were using it believing that it's the next way to bring retail back, to then start adding the DeFi tokens and DePIN and real world asset and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's it's obviously a big part of the space. There's a lot of reasons why people buy meme coins, obviously to try to win the lottery, but there's communities, there's a whole bunch of sort of blockchain DNA wrapped around that. But I do think that tons of them are rugs. Like, most people lose money on meme coins. You only ever hear about the people who are making heaps of money, but I think they're here to stay. I think they're great. I'm just looking at now, Dogecoin number 7, Shibu number 12.
Julian, you're also getting hate mail, my man. This is the
What is with people today? Oh my gosh! Wow.
Someone Bob's feeling left out, like no one hates me, bro.
Wow.
So far, so good.
Yeah, it's legit. Who's Daniel? All right. Yeah. Sorry, Daniel. I'm sorry to have let you feel.
Oh wow.
I when I look at meme coins,
coming out of the woodwork today.
With the meme coins, there's a reason casinos exist and are legal, but then carry some kind of stigma with them, or whatever the right word is there. There's a reason they're regulated. There's a reason you don't let under 18s and all this kind of stuff. And what do you say about this? The casinos, the house always wins. And when you look at these meme coins, you can call them rugs, you can call them, there's a very sophisticated machinery that exists to spin up these coins, pump that marketing, and then dump on all the the noobs and everyone who's chasing these meme coins. And the fact that now it's like, you can go on platforms and DIY spin up a meme coin, and with a couple of dollars of marketing budget, potentially actually just do that same thing, rinse and repeat. I don't have high regard for that whole meme coin space. I think something needs to be done to acknowledge that it is just a big, large, global gambling ring, getting at your own risk. But that doesn't have any space. That doesn't belong in financial markets. It just doesn't. And cryptocurrency exchanges, and you talk about the white paper, you talk about this holy grail of Bitcoin supposed to be this, self-regulating. That's, I'm going to watch my language. When that same white paper and that same technology is bringing about this whole meme coin crap that's going on, you can't ignore the role of regulations and investor protections in this space. So I think meme coins need to be carved out quickly from anything that calls itself an exchange and uses the language currency or exchange and DeFi and all this stuff. And it needs to go into casino rails. Call it casino coins, casino meme coins, whatever. Like, carve the whole thing out, get rid of it, because as long as those meme coins exist, we're going to struggle to be taken seriously in many ways.
Bob's not a fan, I take it. So, you know what? I think it's for me. I had the same idea, but eventually it's like, do you adjust your priors, or like to fit the market, or are you still in denial? And like, my biggest regret not pivoting to memes earlier, not trying to understand like the cultural zeitgeist underneath. It's not a thing. I think it's not just memes. It's the poly market craze, and it's all the AI agents that are popping up. People love to speculate on culturally relevant things that they can then turn into tweets, posts, communities, banter. Like, people, it's like culture. It's a cultural casino. It's imagine if blackjack had a religion, that kind of an idea. But I want to kind of we're getting towards the sort of the end of our show. Before the hate mail comes in, I want to kind of take it to Bob and Julian to just give us a little bit of a forward-looking projection. 2025, especially around your activities, your companies. Like, what are you excited for? What do you think you're gonna bring to market? Like, what can we look forward from InvestaX, IXSwap, INX? Lots of I's and X's in the house for 2025.
I'll jump in there. I think we're going to see a lot more crypto exchanges and DeFi wallets plugging into RWA. That's our focus. I think you know, we've already started with tokenizing real assets. We've started with you know, putting them into, you know, AMMs for liquidity pools. We've started with new investment structures with smart contracts and better types of VC funds and real estate funds. And the next thing we're launching is lending and borrowing. So using real asset tokens as collateral, I think that's going to be massive. We saw how useful and big that became in DeFi. So yeah, I think that's, and welcoming America back to the party. I think they're the main ones for us.
Yeah, I think, you know, again, I want to have a bit of an institutional lens here, but I'll also counter and look at the investor side of things. I think you're having, look, as I said, I started in banking and finance, and these institutions have been hiring, right? It takes a while to get the right team, to get the right strategy, to be ready to put your foot forward. Like we saw UBS last week announcing UMINT, right? So that's their tokenized money market fund. And, you know, are they late to the game? No. Are they early, right? The point is, this is the right time. This is when they've become ready with the right people in-house, with the right market conditions and regulations and status quo, basically, of crypto to put that product out. I think there's a lot of institutions that are racing to get to that point, right? We talk about these large names all the time: UBS, BlackRock, Franklin Templeton. There's hundreds and hundreds of other asset managers, wealth management platforms, banks out there that have products. They have, investment products, and they're not just gonna be like, well, this tokenized feeder fund thing, it's something for the Apollos and the KKRs and the Hamilton Lanes. It's not for us. No, everyone's gonna be looking to get their act together, have the right team in place. And so I think these money market funds, these treasury-backed tokens, we're going to see way, way more of them come out next year. I would say they've been the winner of 2024. Like if you look at the narrative, treasury-backed tokens, amazing. I think so many are probably in the kitchen right now being cooked. We're going to have loads and loads and loads. There's just going to be complete proliferation of money market funds and treasury-backed tokens next year. I think stable coins will continue to be massive winners of tokenized real-world assets, right? Cash, tokenized cash. We always work in these bubbles of the Western mature financial markets, but guys, there is so much an enablement and empowerment happening in places like in Africa, in Latin America, and many emerging economies, just because people are able to on-ramp onto dollar rails in one stable coin or the other. And the next thing we're going to see is these guys who are sitting on these stable coin balances, and they feel like they've achieved the goal, which is to get out of the Argentinian peso or the Nigerian naira, right? And they feel like that's the goal. Now they realize there's a new goal, and the new goal is to earn yield on those stablecoin balances, as little as they are, right? You got $50, $100 in stablecoin balances, you can earn 5% yield on that. And so we're going to see more and more of these funds democratizing, making themselves accessible to retail investors. I think we're going to see private debt as the next sort of emerging, sub product, so to say, within the space. The efficiencies in asset servicing, the significant cost savings, I think are just going to blow the minds of these institutions once they really understand how much savings and efficiencies they will derive. So yeah, my money is on way more tokenized, money market funds, much more stable coin earning yield on your stablecoin balances, and private debt. That's my view.
So optimistic, man. I hope that you are right. I really hope that you are right. But knowing the degen community, man, we're gonna have more frogs, cats, and dogs than you can shake a stick at. Just
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, Matt, so
eventually, and this has always been my view, and I was quoted in CNBC like in 2015 as saying that anything that can be traded online will eventually be traded on a blockchain. I just don't think that we're going to see that this year in 2025, not in like a mass scale. Like Apple stock eventually is going to be a blockchain token, but not today. Like there's just too much shitcoinery happening in the markets. There's just too much like nonsense and I mean, think about the way that social media is structured too. Like, you know, fake news travels faster than real news, and you know, bots influence more than genuine people and their comments. And therefore, yes, I think that we're going to get there, but I think it's going to take a lot more time because we have to cut through a lot of freaking noise.
yeah, look, I wasn't in any way saying that what I described there was going to compete on any kind of scale with shitcoinery and meme coins, right? I was really kind of looking at the RWA tokenized, you know, kind of space. But, you know, crypto, as I said, until, you know, universal laws get passed that say, you know, meme coins and shit coins should no longer live on anything that calls itself like an exchange and wants to be a financial trading venue, and you know, should move elsewhere.
Why would anybody write a law like that? That's silly. I mean, what are you threatened by Dogecoin, or what's the problem then?
No, I'm not. I'm saying that as long as that continues to happen, as long as that freedom continues to exist, right? That, you know, people should be allowed to trade these meme coins, create these meme coins, and have this space to rug pull at will and pump and dump. And this crazy Wild West casino continues to happen on platforms that are looking for legitimacy and using language like we're a cryptocurrency exchange, but 90% of the stuff that happens is all this shitcoinery. I think until, and that's why I was saying, until universal laws get passed, which is never going to happen, was my point.
No, I believe
you're going to have an undermining
because casinos exist and nobody's outlawed them, and senior citizens have the right to go and gamble away their future, and so should everybody else. And what I believe will happen over time,
I agree, but
people will understand the difference.
But casinos don't.
Go ahead.
Is it my network or Maddie's network?
Go ahead. Casinos don't.
I agree that casinos exist. Casinos, and everyone has a right to that. My problem is with casinos existing within the construct of something that wants to call itself a financial service exchange where you can, you know, trade, and it, you know, cryptocurrency exchange, right? Yeah. There's a contrast there that I just can't wrap my head around.
Okay. That's yeah, but there's I wouldn't hold out for any sort of laws against meme coins. I definitely wouldn't want them. Everybody should have the freedom to create whatever they want to and call it whatever they want to. What needs to happen is that the retail investor at home needs to get smarter, and we need to have better tools for people to discern which projects actually have value and which of them are total junk. And when you have that, all of these scams become like junk mail in your mailbox. People just freaking ignore them. And every once in a while, you'll get a senior citizen who is not on the up and up on understanding what a scam is, and they're going to get scammed. And that happens anyways. And you know, boo-hoo, too bad, so sad. But what is good for the economy and good for humanity and good for the global economy is that everybody has the freedom to innovate and to make new stuff and to break things and to break the mold, because no government is ever going to be able to put in place rules that are going to protect every citizen everywhere. And what they're going to do is they're going to harm regular citizens, enrich themselves, make themselves fatter and more connected by making rules more complicated, which is how the world's been running for the last 100 years. And the only way to really break that mold is to tear down these rules that tell people what they can and cannot do, and let the free market figure it out for himself. It's basic. It's Milton Friedman 101.
I think you know what I think it's. I hear what you're saying, Bob. You want a different classification. You don't want people to think of meme coins in the same mental bracket as they think of long-term investments in like cash-producing companies or Bitcoin or whatever. But you know, I think the world is just like in 20 years' time, investing going to be so very different. It's going to be, you know, our kids' retirement portfolio will probably have a lot of Dogecoin and Shiba in it, and not so much General Electric. So these things are changing. For me, I'm personally looking towards, you know, in the real world asset space, especially DeFi and that like intersection is Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin, $1 trillion, you know, ecosystem, $1 trillion worth of market cap, volume, liquidity, and for the first time ever, we have, you know, ordinals, runes. We have the tools to create tokens on Bitcoin and layer twos on Bitcoin. So there's a lot of work being done to unlock Bitcoin yield in DeFi. I think you know, I'm interested to see how tokenization of real world asset will integrate with this new runes protocol. Maybe not immediately, but down the line, I can definitely, you know, if you're tokenizing a landmark, you know, piece of real estate, or you're tokenizing Apple shares, like the you know, the reference point for they can trade on a layer two, they can trade somewhere else, but the reference point for that should be Bitcoin. It's you know, if you want to know that your asset will live on chain forever, you should, you know, inscribe it or you know, etch it onto the Bitcoin blockchain as a rune, as an ordinal. So that's something I'm very curious to see how it plays out. Any final thoughts before we close off for the day? Thank you very much to everyone listening. We had quite a decent. Let's just deal with this question. Does anyone want to take this question before we sign off? Warut from Boone. Could be a bot, could be not, but it's from LinkedIn, so it's probably not a bot. We did have Julian's Hader is a Mati fan, which is very weird to see. So now we need Mati's Hader to come back and say something nice about Julian. But thank you to everyone for adding a little spice to the show. So anyone want to take this?
He's not gonna get anything positive out of him. Man,
Anything?
I spent so much time and energy in trying to build him up, and then watching him come and spit in my face and completely turn on me was like, it was a surreal experience.
Yeah. That's crazy. Like it's you know, the people are the alpha in this space, in this industry. That's kind of what I've learned. Like it's if you surround yourself with the right people, like it might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, but you'll be around enough cycles that you'll be able to help each other win. The second you have these kind of net negative energy draining people in your life, especially in this space, you know, like obviously those green candles attract a lot of less than savory characters. So with all the greed and the envy that's you know, permeating on the timeline 24/7, it's very easy to, you know, get caught up with people that are draining of your light, of your feng shui. So I hopefully this guy doesn't come back, or he does come back. I like a little banter.
I don't mind having an open debate with him. I don't think it's worth everybody's time, but like if he wants to come and talk to me like in a live stream or whatever, I'm here. Like I have done nothing wrong. My conscience is clear. And he feels like.
Do you hear that, Joshua Lynch? If you want to come on our live stream, you're invited.
Like literally, he tried to extort me, like textbook.
I got a team call. Thanks for having us, guys. To Matty, Bob,
Julian, we'll be in touch. Thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful day.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Good speaking to you again. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Bob. Take care, everybody. We've still got a few minutes. We just keep the live vibe going. Let's see.
All right.
You know, what do you think? I think we can do like a couple minutes every week just to wrap up the show. And what are your thoughts about the guests we had? You know what? Like for me, like I want to try and get more smart about the guests that we have on the show, like more specific, maybe niche down as well. Like Julian and Bob are excellent, but I don't know. Should we be having more meme coins, like people speaking? Is that the vibe? Like, do people want another meme coin caller group, or do people want to hear about? For me, it's about finding uh, people, entrepreneurs, use cases like when we had Asher from BitDoctor that are actually changing the. At the end of the day,
Last week
at the
was
end of the day, yeah, there's a certain power that we have being involved in exponential technology to make the world an exponentially better place, and to use these technologies to bring people out of poverty, or not even out of poverty, out of middle class anxiety and insecurity, into prosperity, into abundance. And that's, I think, what we should be focusing on in the show, those kind of people.
Yeah, I love to hear from our listeners, the people who are watching every time. I'd love to have some of them up on as well. That's who we're doing this show for, anyways. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm happy to speak with innovators. I want to look for good innovators and figure out, who are the bad actors. I thought Bob was interesting. I know that you're formerly of INX, so I don't know how much of a conflict of interest there is here. I didn't like the fact that he was looking for more regulation. It really reminded me of like SBF's comments about DeFi. Well, we're so ahead of the curve as far as innovation, so more regulation is good for us. More roadblocks is good for us.
Yeah.
And I didn't like where he was going with that at all.
Yeah.
Julian, I didn't hear about his product whatsoever. I'm happy to have him on again, but maybe figure out what is InvestaX.
I try to give them more of a. I should have maybe just asked what is your product outright, because I try to give them more time to.
He didn't speak enough about what he's doing for me to get a good sense of who he is, or where he's at mentally. He just he agreed with me on a few points, and then he had his hater come up, and that's all I really got from Julian. But he seemed like an okay guy as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, regarding the regulation side, you're correct that I'm formerly of INX, and this is a great time we still live. So I want to say shout out to DLT Law, our sponsors. Go check them out, and your partners in all things regulatory and compliant. So this is the story with with INX and regulation. Like when I came into INX, I was kind of bullish on the marriage, as I always am. I'm a pretty hard cypherpunk ideally, but I understand that when the rubber hits the road, the cypherpunk ideals of Satoshi and Silk Road are not going to help integrate this technology and this asset class into the world, into the mainstream. So there has to be some meeting point. That being said, the meeting point needs to be on our terms. Like we're the new sheriff in town. Crypto is the regulators need to adapt themselves to this new meta, right? And then do that.
We have the power now. You're right, and we have the power. We need to now not buckle, right? When you're winning, you don't forfeit. You don't say, okay, well, you know what? This is what you've been pushing for the last 10 years. We'll just take it. You're in the with the politicians, and I've always held the belief that eventually politicians will realize that they need to get on board with crypto in order to hold their constituency together and garner the votes. And that's exactly what happened in this election. And now that we have the power, don't give it away for peanuts. All right?
Yeah.
Go all the way and say we want complete deregulation. We want zero rules or extra rules put on us because we're innovating. We want help to innovate. And in fact, the Israeli government even does help innovate. I don't know if you know that, but there's a Department of Innovation, and they give out grants and tax breaks for innovators. And that's where regulators should be, rather than try to put roadblocks and choke point 2.0 and stuff like that. It's actually the banks in this country that are smart. But But
My
as far
issue with that idea, like and then so that's what happened when I first got in. I wanted to at INX, I wanted to make that connection between the blockchain and the real world, and it looked interesting to me. But then I realized that, like, in a lot of the cases, the tokenization side of the industries, it doesn't have. It's about the ethos. Like, what is your ethos? Do you believe, like, in more government, in the democratic? By democratic, I mean like the Democrat, the blue vision of a mega nanny state, which is bordering on cultural Marxism, or do you believe in the free market libertarian ethos of Satoshi Nakamoto? And that's where there was a clash for me that ultimately proved unbridgeable. Like, for me, it's you need to have your starting point needs to be not let's be regulated. Your starting point needs to be what can I do to help people, more, as I said, more prosperity, enjoy how, advance the world. And then what regulation do I need to fit in with in order not to go to jail? But regulation shouldn't be the starting point of, like, first I need to be compliant, then I need to add value. It should be first I need to add value, and then I need to see, like, what is the bare minimum I can do not to land up in jail. I don't need to go beyond that. Regulation isn't like, religion, where there's a virtue to going beyond and being extra careful and being extra strict and being extra pious. It's not like a relationship with your wife, where if you go above and beyond the call of duty, you're getting extra bonus points. The regulation, there's more risk in the crypto space to play regulation too cautiously than there is to play regulation. Because if you look at a number of firms that have fallen because they've been too cautious, versus the number of firms that have been, very few firms get actually sued by the SEC. If you're blocking US IPs, if you're taking very basic precautions, you should be fine. So that's kind of my issue with that. That's kind of my catch-20, my take on the whole regulation.
Friedman said it too. I mean, he like, I'm not against government, and one of the use cases of government that he said was like protecting men from fellow men, right? Like, if somebody is a murderer or a thief or something, that's what government is there for. And in that sense, and that's why Gary Gensler loved to say, I'm protecting people, but obviously his version of I'm protecting people was actually like, no, I'm just stifling the markets, and it was very transparent in them doing so. So yes, there should be, like, enforcement as far as people who are obviously scamming or or harming other individuals. There should be consequences for that. But I think that as a first step, the government needs to step out of the way completely before they even understand, what does that look like? Is Richard Hart belong in jail? I don't know. That's a good question, right? Because I believe that it's a flat out scam. Like, he never intended to have anything to build anything good. But on the other hand, you could make the case that, well, he was trying to innovate something. It led to him being very wealthy, and the protocol didn't really go anywhere. And is that a scam, or is that just a project that didn't pan out? And
an influencer with 500,000 followers tweeting about it 200.
And this is what I got on his case for, is there were not adequate disclaimers on his page. He was out there promising millions of percentage points returns, and there was nothing that says this is a high risk venture, and he just wasn't transparent about the risk. So I believe that if Richard Hart was out there and saying, okay, like, this is risky, guys, I'm asking you to take a chance on me and don't invest more than you can afford to lose, I think that would probably have been okay. Whereas if, in the case where he was, like, out there going, okay, we're all gonna get rich here, and there's no question, just believe in me, I think that's probably more the case that he should end up in jail. But these are the type of things that where regulation is needed. But that need for even these minimum regulations does not ever trump the fact, no pun intended, that the need for freedom of markets to innovate and freedom of markets to create new things.
Yeah, definitely true. So Mati, thank you so much for the episode. We'll shut off the live now. Anyone who's here, please join us next week. We have Aram. Finally, Aram is coming on the show.
Nice.
Aram Mugelihayan, and we have a guy by the name of Iri. Iri is an Israeli founder. He's founded a company called Bring. They do cashback for crypto, and he is kind of trying to reimagine the whole ad tech. He's an ad tech entrepreneur, first time venture in Web3. They're trying to reimagine the whole ad tech model on Web3. So, between Iri and Aram, we'll have a good chat there, specifically around, impressions, how to get out there, how to get reach with your content, with your partnership, and how to get paid for that as well. So it should be a good show. Tune in next week for the Yalla Bitcoin Breakfast Show. Let's go.
Thanks a lot, Dudu, and thanks everybody for coming.